The next morning did not arrive like a clean break. It arrived like exhaustion that refused to end. Lisa woke before sunrise, not because she was rested, but because her body no longer trusted sleep to stay safe. For a moment she lay still, listening to the quiet hum of her apartment, waiting for the old panic to return, the kind that used to come with phone calls, accusations, and the constant pressure of being rewritten by other people. It didn't come. Instead, there was silence. Real silence. Not the kind that hides danger, but the kind that finally stops carrying it. In the days that followed the gala, the world moved faster than she did. News outlets picked up fragments of the story first, then the documents, then the ethics inquiry, then the financial records that confirmed what had been hidden for years under polished speeches and donor dinners. The Whitfield Maritime Foundation became less of a name and more of a case file. Calls started coming in from investigators she hadn't heard from in years. Some apologized. Some simply asked for clarification. Lisa answered what she had to and ignored what she didn't. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't explaining herself to people who had already decided she was lying. Nora adjusted in a different way. She didn't ask many questions about the aftermath. Children rarely process collapse in pieces, they process it in impressions. What mattered to her was simpler. Her mother came home every night, her voice stayed calm, and no one tried to take her away when she held her paper sailboat too tightly in public. That sailboat stayed on the kitchen table for days, slightly bent, still intact. On the fifth day after the gala, Lisa received an official letter. It wasn't from her parents. It was from the State Ethics Board. Her testimony had triggered a full expansion of the investigation. Subpoenas were being issued. Additional witnesses had come forward after seeing the public proceedings. The letter used careful language, procedural, neutral, but beneath it was something unmistakable. The system had finally decided to stop looking away. She read it twice, then placed it back in the envelope without calling anyone to interpret it for her. That evening, there was another knock at her door. Not loud, not urgent, just steady. When she opened it, it wasn't a reporter. And it wasn't her parents. It was the governor's aide, holding a slim folder. Governor Whitaker asked me to deliver this personally, the man said. Inside was a draft proposal, early stage, unannounced, of a statewide reform initiative for maritime safety oversight. Alongside it was a single-page note: "We don't just want to fix what happened. We want to make sure it can't happen quietly again." There was no praise in it, no emotional language, just responsibility being redistributed back to where it belonged after he left. Lisa sat at the kitchen table for a long time, not reading, not thinking forward, just letting the weight of it settle into something she could carry. Nora eventually climbed into the chair across from her. "Are you in trouble again?" she asked softly. Lisa almost smiled at the question. "No," she said. "This time, trouble is in the right place." Nora nodded like that made perfect sense, then reached for her crayons. She drew a lighthouse again, but this time, she added something new at the bottom of the page. A small boat, not sinking, just moving. Weeks passed. The legal process unfolded in layers, slow, deliberate, unavoidable. Depositions, financial audits, internal reviews. People who once defended the Whitfield name began separating themselves from it carefully, like pulling their hands away from something hot. Lisa didn't watch most of it happen. She had spent too many years living inside the reactions of others. Now she focused on what was directly in front of her: her work, her daughter, and the quiet rebuilding of a life that didn't require permission. One afternoon, she returned to something she hadn't touched in years: her consulting files. A nonprofit group had reached out, asking her to help design safety training for coastal rescue teams. Smaller scale, direct impact. No speeches, no stage. Just work that stayed where it belonged. She accepted, not because it erased the past, but because it didn't require her to perform it. The first time she visited the training site, a young coordinator hesitated before shaking her hand. "You're the one from the hearing," he said. Lisa paused, then corrected him gently. "I'm the one who showed up." That was enough. Meanwhile, the house that had once belonged to her parents' influence was no longer part of anyone's control. Internal audits confirmed a pattern of diverted funds spanning years. The foundation was placed under external oversight pending restructuring. Several resignations followed. Her father's name stopped appearing in invitations. Her mother stopped appearing in photographs. No dramatic downfall marked their disappearance from the public sphere. Just absence replacing presence. That, in its own way, was louder than scandal. One evening, months later, Lisa stood at the harbor with Nora. The same wine that once carried speeches and charity banners now moved freely over the water without belonging to anyone. Nora held her paper sailboat, now softened from age and handling. "Do you think Grandma misses us?" she asked suddenly. Lisa didn't answer immediately. Not because she didn't know, but because she no longer needed quick answers to emotional inheritance. "I think," she said finally, "some people miss control more than they miss people." Nora considered that, then nodded once. "Do we miss them?" Lisa looked at the water. The lighthouse in the distance blinked steadily and changed, indifferent to everything except its purpose. "No," she said. "We remember them." "That's different." They stood there until the wind shifted slightly, carrying the smell of salt and distance. Later that night, after Nora fell asleep, Lisa sat by the window with her laptop open. The foundation paperwork for her new initiative was nearly complete. On the final page, her name appeared as lead director. No qualifiers, no shadows, no secondary approval lines, just her. She signed it. Not with anger, not with victory. With completion. Outside, the city continued its indifferent rhythm: cars, lights, distant conversations. Inside, for the first time in her life, nothing in her world was waiting to correct her. And somewhere in that quiet certainty, she finally understood something she had spent years surviving without. Freedom does not always feel like escape. Sometimes it feels like no longer needing to explain why you left.